UFC 322 took place last night. It was a great night of fights. The co-main and main event weren't the most exciting, but they were great performances, and we were absolutely rolling before that. I think it was 4 straight knockouts before the co-main event, so I am not going to complain at all. Let's get right into it. I think Islam Makhachev is the greatest fighter of all time. I don't really love GOAT talk when it comes to MMA because I think it's so hard to compare these guys, but I think skill for skill, you could kind of made that argument already, right? That he's like the most complete fighter of all time. I almost think of it as like he's the LeBron of the UFC, right? He's the most well-rounded, the most complete fighter of all time. But now he has the resume to match his skill set, right? He just tied Anderson Silva's record, the longest winning streak in UFC history. With one more win, he will break that. And he finally gets his second belt. He becomes a 2-division champ, one of the only fighters in UFC history to do it. So I'm calling him the GOAT. I think he's the best fighter of all time. But let's get into his performance, man. I was very clear before the fight. If you want to go and pick Jack Della Maddalena, I love it. That's fantastic. I was on the fence. I mean, I'm a classic fence hitter, right? Like, I don't even know if I made a definitive prediction. But so many people, all the contrarians, the hot take artists, you love to pick the underdog just to be different. I don't know if anyone actually thought JDM was going to win, or like, again, people just want to be different. This is the same exact thing that happened with Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat. And go look at my account. Like, I was saying this is exactly what's going to happen. You had Khamzat as the big favorite, the dominant grappler, and so many people were taking Dricus du Plessis. And then what happens? DDP had absolutely nothing for him. It was a dominant performance. You could call it boring, like that's fine, but it was a dominant performance. And then as soon as the fight ended, the people that were telling you for months that DDP had this great anti-wrestling, the great takedown defense, and Khamzat wasn't going to be able to just control him the whole time, they got right back in front of the cameras and were like, blaming Khamzat for it being a boring fight. I warned you that that was what was going to happen, and it seems like that's exactly what's happening. So many people were picking Jack Della Maddalena for a bunch of different reasons. The Islam hate is outrageous. That's a funny line to say. And again, I think it's fine to have picked JDM, but like, if you picked him and now you're just complaining that it was a boring fight and Islam's a boring fighter, shut up. If you're the one dominating the fight, it is not your fault for it being boring. If you want to blame someone, like, it goes on JDM. If you're Islam, your game plan is obviously to establish the wrestling early. So you come out in the first and second round and like JDM has absolutely nothing for you. He has no answer for your takedowns, for your grappling. So can you tell me what he's supposed to do? Islam gets back to his corner up 2-0. Again, he is dominating him. JDM has no answer for him. Is he just supposed to like stop wrestling? I don't I'm genuinely looking for someone to answer that question for me. And you could say it was boring for sure. Like, it wasn't the most exciting fight. And I hate on like the crotch sniffing. Like, I am not some like MMA fan who's going to be like, oh, you guys don't appreciate the sport. That is not what I'm doing at all. But I was intrigued the whole fight. I thought Islam had him in trouble multiple times. I always thought there was a threat of the finish. And I would even say I thought JDM like came in prepared. I thought he did a really good job defending the submission. So I don't really understand the blaming Islam for it being a boring fight. If you want to blame someone, it is not his fault. And I would really like if you're someone who thinks that, I would like an explanation for it, because again, it makes no sense. It's the same thing. If you're battering someone on the feet, like, should you just stop doing it? I don't understand. What is next for Islam Makhachev? What is next for this welterweight division? This is the best division in the UFC by far. I've been saying it for over a year now, and I mean, there's no argument against it. And what an interesting time with this, like, Olympics, this bracket kind of all playing out. We had 3 top 10 matchups on Saturday, and next week we have another one with Ian Gary versus Bilal Muhammad. I'm going to make another video breaking down what I think is next at welterweight and what I want to see, but I am very scared that it's going to be Islam versus Usman, and I could predict it right now. I think that fight is going to be at the White House. Because if you're Prates or Morales, like, you definitely have an argument. You just knocked out a top 5 guy. And if Ian Gary gets an impressive win over Bilal Muhammad next weekend, then he has a claim to it as well. But the fact that there are so many like legitimate contenders kind of hurts each one of them, if that makes sense. But now I really don't know. And if Islam pushes for the Usman fight, like, he's a former champ, he's a legend, he's a big name, I think that might happen. And if you're Islam Makhachev, I would just be staying far away from Michael Morales. I mean, holy smokes. You got to give a lot of credit to Sean Brady for taking this fight. This was a guy who had an argument for the title shot, and it was just bad timing, right? With Shavkat pulling out originally, and then that's how JDM got the title shot versus Bilal. Sean Brady was like kind of a more deserving guy, but he was already booked. And then you have Islam moving up, so Brady had to do something else. And what does he do? He fights all the way down the rankings versus like the most dangerous guy, an undefeated 26-year-old freakazoid. So it really sucks to see for Brady. Again, he's a dog for taking the fight, but let's get in to Michael Morales. Dude, this was one of those fights right when they got face-to-face in the octagon. You just had the feeling like it was ending early. I mean, is Morales like a light heavyweight? He's listed as like 2 inches tall taller than Brady, he looked massive. Everything he threw hurt Brady. Like from the first couple exchanges, you knew Brady was going out soon enough. And then it only took a couple minutes. It was only a matter of time. I don't think you guys realize how good this kid is. Some people really like to ignore the facts going into a fight. I don't know if it's just their bias because they want one guy to win. Do you realize what we're dealing with here? Morales is 26 years old. So something I kept saying before this fight was every time he shows up, he's going to look like a different fighter. Why? Because he is making such big strides at this point in his career. Most people are not in the UFC by the time they're 26. So I see people like critiquing fights of his from 3 years ago where he's getting taken down. It's like, dude, he was 23. This past week, I watched his last 3 fights. And if you're not seeing a guy who's showing up as like a new fighter every time, completely improved game, then I don't know what to tell you. I saw people in their fight breakdowns genuinely saying that Neil Magny almost got him down. Like that we were reaching for something to make this guy look human. I don't think he is human. The sky is the limit. There's no telling how good this kid can be. Like the athleticism, the explosiveness, the speed, the power. You never see that in the UFC. I also predicted that I could see this guy being a double champ, right? He is not staying at 170 forever. I don't know how he makes 170 right now. But if you come to me 10 years from now and you said Morales touched gold in 2 different weight classes, I'd believe you. Sean Brady, you're an absolute dog for taking the fight, so big shout out to you. Just how good is Carlos Prates? Nobody does that to Leon Edwards. Another fight that I was very confident about, right? I had Prates by 3rd round knockout, but when I was breaking this fight down, I was like, Leon is the far superior grappler, right? We saw this guy take down Usman. We saw this guy take down Colby Covington. So if Leon Edwards comes into this fight motivated on a 2-fight skid, looking to get his mojo back, and he comes in with a smart game plan, and he takes the fight to Carlos Prates, and he says, put on your wrestling shoes. We are going to dance. Then yeah, he could easily coast to a decision. But then I was like, when has Leon Edwards done that to anyone? When has he ever taken the fight to somebody? So I thought in theory that sounds good, but in reality, he's not going to do that. And Carlos Prates is going to spark him out in the 2nd or 3rd round. So then in the 1st round, when Leon implements the wrestling, takes him down, I'm like, oh my gosh, what an idiot I am. Like, obviously this is what was going to happen. So I was getting ready to go back and delete my takes. And then holy smokes, dude. What a brutal game this is. The guy was the champion, defending his belt multiple times just over a year ago. Now he's on a 3-fight skid getting sparked unconscious. That was a brutal knockout. Carlos Prates has legit power. How does this guy have 6 losses out of the UFC, and just how good is Ian Gary? Do you do Prates versus Morales right now? I mean, what a fight that would be. I said a year ago that they were kind of on a collision course to face each other as like these 2 fun, exciting up-and-comers, but now they're like the 1 and 2 guys in the division. And if Usman is getting the title shot, then, that's like the clear number 1 contender fight. But then what does the winner of Gary Bilal do, especially if it's Ian Gary? What does Shavkat do? What a division welterweight is right now. Can we just appreciate that? Benoit Saint Denis, again, he shows he is legit. I guess that pre-Poirier hype was for real. I mean, what happened in the Moicano fight? How did he get mauled like that? It only took 15 seconds. It only took 1 punch, really. But yeah, Dariush going out a little bit sad. And I think BSD is a legit contender at lightweight. Dude, how crazy was it when we had 4 straight sick knockouts? It went Nickal, it went BSD, it went Prates and Morales. Back to back to back to back. We were rolling last night. I got to give a big shout out to Bo Nickal. I've definitely made fun of him a little bit, but I think it's probably so hard to take a loss like that. The guy's been a dominant force in wrestling his entire life, probably only has a couple of losses in his combat career. You're undefeated in MMA. The UFC is really trying to push you, so you're growing haters regardless, and then you lose in like the most embarrassing fashion. For him to be able to take that one on the chin, get back in the lab, and improve, I think speaks volume about this guy and what he could possibly accomplish in the UFC. Doing it with a highlight reel head kick knockout and then hopping on the fence and flipping the bird, like Bo Nickal got a lot of new fans last night. RoboCop looked like a world beater. I mean, if this guy ever develops any form of a gas tank, like is he just going to run through the middleweight division? How can anyone beat this guy in those traps, dude? Holy smokes. I completely forgot to mention Valentina versus Weili, and that's not a joke because I know I love to hate on the WMMA scene. Valentina Shevchenko is such a special fighter. I kind of just said the same thing about Islam, so I'll repeat myself, but she might be the most well-rounded fighter of all time. She's a world champion kickboxer who's been known for being like the best female striker in the UFC the last however long, and now in her late 30s, she becomes like a dominant grappler. Like she always had the grappling, I'm not saying that, but like to 50-45, Weili Yang is insane. Anytime you have a highlight reel of head kick knockouts and then you're able to just 50-45 people with wrestling, like you are a special fighter. And she also, I mean, Weili had nothing for her on the feet either. Like That was very impressive. But yeah, what a night. UFC 322. I thought it was an amazing night of fights. It had legacy on the line. It had GOAT status on the line. It had a bunch of highlight reel knockouts. It had everything you wanted in a UFC card. Maybe the card of the year. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought and what fights you want to see next.